Today is by far one of the most surreal moments of my life. I could not have ever imagined under any set of circumstances that I would be given an honorary degree from Portland State University and invited to deliver a commencement address at the stadium home of the Portland Timbers and the chainsaw-toting mascot Timber Joey. In college, I was not exactly the most studious of students. I spent much of my time in cocktail dresses and bunny outfits, throwing outrageous and fabulous parties with 7-foot ice sculptures of San Sebastian and pineapple dance cages. I still have recurring nightmares as recently as last Wednesday that I'm about to fail my math final and therefore not be able to graduate. So to President Percy, the nominating committee, and members of the faculty, and to the graduating classes of 2020, 2021, and 2022, thank you for this honorary degree in spite of my past behaviors. And thank you for not requiring passing a math final to get it. The legendary governor of Oregon, Tom McCall, the one who said on national television, "We want you to visit Oregon again and again, but for heaven's sake, don't move here." Tom McCall also said, "Heroes are not giant statues framed against a red sky. They are people who say, this is my community, and it is my responsibility to make it better." All of us have heroes, people who inspire us to be better. My heroes taught me to be true to myself, follow my instincts, champion what inspires me, and create more beauty in the world. My first heroes are my parents. I grew up in a multicultural household in rural Indiana. My parents are from the earnest side of the 1960s. They're both pretty white. They met at Purdue, then married, and made a huge life decision to be inclusive. They, much to the chagrin of my racist grandparents, they adopted a rainbow tribe of children. I have a black brother, a black sister, an Iranian brother, and I'm half Filipino. The lower half. My ferociously independent mother is a brilliant and empathetic farm girl from Ohio who taught at the University of Utah in the 1960s. My father, who studied forestry at UC Berkeley, which at the time, I might add, was free, went back and forth between plants and God. He was a minister for Church of the Brethren, which is known as one of the 3 peace denominations, along with Quakers and Mennonites. At some point, my father left the ministry and my parents opened a plant nursery. A few years later, my father came out of the closet. My parents divorced but remained best friends, and we all moved together to Oregon, which is just as green as Indiana, but a lot more progressive. My father became the first openly gay Church of the Brethren minister here in Portland. My mother started a support group for spouses whose partners come out of the closet, and both of them appeared together on a bunch of national talk shows, including Oprah. In 1999, my mother met Ken Myers, a great man and a straight man. My father performed the marriage ceremony when my mother and Ken married. 10 years ago, all 3 of them retired to the same retirement home in Northeast Portland, though they don't all sleep together. That I know of. Another hero and mentor is my extraordinary piano teacher, Sylvia Fieldman, who is still alive at 96. She simply wanted me to become a better pianist and to find happiness along the way. My English teachers at Grant High School, Jean Jenkins and Jane Bidwell, were cool, smart, glamorous women who taught Chaucer and Shakespeare, as well as how to cook, how to smoke, how to entertain, and how to have fun. On winter break of my freshman year at Harvard, I was back in Portland and I went to Jane Bidwell's house for dinner. I explained to them that I was contemplating going back into the closet, pretend to be straight because I wanted to go into politics and I felt that being gay would really make everything much more difficult. Well, they went ballistic. They said, "That is the worst idea we've ever heard. Absolutely no." That conversation with my English teachers was inspiring, encouraging, and bolstered my confidence to be more myself. The summer before my senior year at Harvard, I was back at Portland City Hall working for Commissioner Gretchen Kafori. The big project that summer was the city's first civil rights ordinance. My job was to build a coalition of public support. That's how I met Kathleen Sadat. People talk a lot about diversity, but to honor and actualize that goal of diversity is much harder. Stephen Frost, the director of diversity for the 2012 London Olympics, said, "Diversity is a reality, inclusion is a choice." Kathleen showed me how to champion diversity. She taught me to include people who were often shut out of the conversation. She guided my efforts as I reached out to hundreds of organizations, from the Portland Police Association to the Rainbow Coalition. At the time, Kathleen said that I put together the most comprehensive list of community groups in Portland she'd ever seen. The ordinance passed with the support from 95% of that list. After college, I moved back to Portland hoping to one day become mayor of this city. In 1994, there was a nasty attempt to amend the Oregon Constitution to declare homosexuality illegal in the state. I was working on the campaign in opposition to this, and I thought, this campaign needs to be more fun. I had just seen Pee Wee Herman's Christmas special, which has every guest star imaginable packed in 45 minutes. Jean-Jacques Gabor, Dinah Shore, Oprah Winfrey, Whoopi Goldberg, Cher, Charo, Katie Lang, Grace Jones, Little Richard, Magic Johnson, and the Del Rubio triplets. 3 gals, 3 guitars, somewhere between the ages of 70 and 80. They were literally triplets that lived in a triple white mobile home park in San Diego, California. They had huge hair. They wore matching miniskirts and booties, and they played guitars and sang covers of Walk Like an Egyptian and Whip It. I brought them to Portland to do a series of small concerts in nursing homes, hospitals, retirement homes, and Rotary meetings. At the end of their set, they would say very sweetly, "Please vote now on Measure 13." At the end of the week, I organized a big concert at Cinema 21 in Northwest Portland. I couldn't get a hold of the surf band that I wanted to open, so I threw on a cocktail dress and I started Big Martini. That's how it started 28 years ago.
Wow. Nice.
We became the house band for political fundraising in Oregon, championing civil rights, affordable housing, cleaning up the Willamette River, arts education in public schools. We played hundreds of weddings. In fact, if you're thinking of hiring Big Martini to play your wedding, you should think twice. We have a 98% divorce rate.
Oh, damn.
We started writing songs. Our first song, Je ne veux pas travailler, je veux fumer, I don't want to work, I want to smoke, became huge in France. It was nominated for Song of the Year in the French Grammys. And we started touring Europe and began collaborating with symphony orchestras in this country. I kept thinking at some point, I'll stop all of this and go back into politics. However, 20 years later, we're still touring. We've recorded a dozen albums, performed songs in 30 languages, been top of the charts in countries like Turkey, Romania, and Japan. We sell out Royal Albert Hall in London and the Hollywood Bowl in Los Angeles. We played with Ringo Starr and Elton John at the Cannes Film Festival. 3 summers ago, 14 Miss Americas joined us on stage to sing the Helen Reddy anthem, I Am Woman. I attribute much of the success of this band and the spirit to the spirit of being inclusive. For me, personally, the most significant moment in Big Martini's 28-year history was in 2012, when we invited civil rights legend Merle Evers to make her Carnegie Hall debut at age 79. Her husband Medgar, who was the field director for the Mississippi chapter of the NAACP, was assassinated in Jackson in 1963. His assassination prompted John F. Kennedy to commit to finally passing a civil rights bill. Merle went on to become the president of the NAACP, but as a young girl, she had studied to be a classical pianist with dreams of playing Carnegie Hall. So when we were invited to play Carnegie Hall with the New York Pops, I went on a year-long campaign to convince her to join us on stage to fulfill that childhood dream. Not only did she play the piano, she sang George Gershwin's The Man I Love in a red beaded gown. The concert with Merle Evers at Carnegie is meaningful because I could see the lineage of my heroes whose act, honesty, inclusion, and kindness over multiple generations led me, my band, and the audience to that beautiful moment on stage. Merle Evers, who continued to fearlessly fight for human rights after her husband's murder, my parents who made a brave decision to raise 4 adopted children who looked different from them, my piano teacher who encouraged me to follow the music that inspired me, not the competitions that would give me fame, my English teachers who taught me how to smoke and how to be fabulous, and Kathleen, who demonstrated how to problem solve by including voices that are in the solutions that are different from my own. A great example of sort of creative problem solving is relevant to Portland State. It happened in 1970, following the riots and the murders of 4 students at Kent State in Ohio. There were riots and protests all across America at practically every American college campus. Portland State, there were huge marches, and later that summer there was a lot of anxiety about there was going to be the National Convention of the American Legion with Richard Nixon rumored to be the sort of speaker. People thought that the town was going to turn into riots between the police, students from PSU, activists, and the American Legion. The Republican governor at the time, Tom McCall, collaborated with countercultural activists, many of them PSU students, to create a rock festival 30 miles outside of town the same week as the American Legion Convention. So instead of riots, 100,000 people went to Mile McIver State Park, got naked, rocked out, and there were no problems. When one is open to working with people who are different, the results can be groundbreaking. Vortex 1 remains the only rock festival sponsored by the state in the history of the country.
Nice.
State University is the most inclusive and diverse university in the state. Graduating today are students from every state in the Union, as well as students from American Samoa, Australia, Bangladesh, Brazil, Canada, Chile, China, Colombia, Ecuador, Egypt, Estonia, Ghana, Guatemala, Hong Kong, India, Indonesia, Iran, Japan, Kenya, Kuwait, Lebanon, Libya, Malaysia, Mexico, Morocco, the Netherlands, New Zealand, Nigeria, Norway, Oman, Pakistan, the Palestinian territories on the Gaza Strip, Panama, Qatar, Rwanda, Saudi Arabia, Senegal, South Korea, Spain, Sri Lanka, Sweden, Switzerland, Taiwan, Thailand, Tunisia, Turkey, Uganda, Ukraine, United Arab Emirates, Venezuela, Vietnam, Yemen, and Zimbabwe.
Ooh, yes.
Call upon the friends you have made in these recent years and the resources of PSU as you follow what inspires you. I continue to spend time in Portland State's Foreign Language Department working with Professor Jerome Spate on Arabic pronunciations and Professor Claudine Fisher, who taught Storm Large how to sing in French. Hold on to your humanity. My friend Sophie Von Trapp says that we are each the average of the 5 people with whom we spend the most time. Follow your gut. The British painter Gluck wrote in her diaries, deep inside of us we know what is right, and when we fail to do this, we always pay for it, maybe years later. Be inclusive, be kind, be empathetic. You never know what kind of impact you will have on strangers, and try to have fun along the way. This is what I've tried to do with Big Martini. Finally, I'd like to quote from the great film Harold and Maude about a love affair between a young man named Harold and a 79-year-old woman named Maude. Maude says, "A lot of people enjoy being dead, but they're not dead, really. They're just backing away from life. Reach out. Take a chance. Get hurt, even. But play as well as you can. Go, team, go. Give me an L. Give me an I. Give me a V. Give me an E. L-I-V-E. Live. Otherwise, you got nothing to talk about in the locker room."
I love that movie.